Hi friends and companions along this path of spiritual practice. In the flux of these days and this moment in our history, maybe the world is beginning to listen. Maybe the NFL is beginning to listen to its players. Maybe the law enforcement institutions and culture, maybe they're beginning to listen as we talk about defunding the police. Maybe you and I are stepping into this practice of listening, because in all spiritual practice, listening is so fundamental. The first moment that Yahweh in the Jewish scripture is listening to creation, we are told, is when God hears the cry of Abel's blood from the ground itself. In Buddhism, Guan Yin, or another name, the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, this name itself means one who listens. I'm thinking about listening as that primary spiritual practice. And the barrier between spiritual practice and everyday life dissolves with listening, because listening is part of both realms. And so as we move further into listening to the world around us, but especially listening to Black lives, I'm thinking about the precepts. There are 5 very basic precepts in Buddhism that come to mind for me. These precepts that are guides and standards that might help us to gauge our listening. The first precept is, I vow to abstain from taking life. I wonder what it is not to kill the spirit of this moment. I wonder what it is not to kill the spirit of someone who comes to us full of anger and rage and trauma and hurt. How do we not kill the spirit of that person? How do we not ask them to put their emotions all tidied together in a bundle, boxed in a way for us? How do we listen to that person's spirit and the spirit of this moment without doing harm, abstaining from taking the life of this moment? I'm thinking about all those moments when I interrupt someone because they're saying something that I disagree with, and I don't want to give them the impression, or others who are listening in, that I'm in agreement with something when I'm not. And so those interruptions. And I wonder if those interruptions kill the spirit of who the other person is, the spirit of their life journey that they are bringing into conversation. Yes, talking about the disagreements and working out the details are important, but they can come later. I wonder if something profound happens when we can meet one another in that place beyond right and wrong. Something so much more profound that can happen in that meeting that does no harm and does not kill the spirit of the person and our meeting. I think about the second precept, which is about, I vow to abstain from taking anything that is not given to me. I think about all the times that I take a conclusion, I take an interpretation of what's going on without checking in with the other person. And I realize I have taken something that was not given to me by that other person. I wonder about all those times that I go prying and looking around for information which is about what I want. And I take things in prying, things that were not given freely to me. The third vow says, I abstain from acting out of lust. I think about energies and dynamics that are powerful, full of passion, and they move with respect for the mutuality of the relationship. And then I think about lust and that broader category of exploitive relations, where the listening is about me. Say something that will entertain me. Say something that will reinforce my status. Say something that will make me feel good. I think about relationships of exploitation, about passions that turn into lust, and how they prevent listening. The fourth precept and guide says, I vow to abstain from lying, from promulgating falsehoods. And this is really, really challenging. And maybe it begins with a fundamental question: why am I listening? What's the energy, the intention, the purpose? What am I trying to accomplish in my listening? Again, to legitimize my opinion, to make me feel good, to remind the other people and myself that I'm one of the good people in this. Why am I listening? What is the truth of this moment? And sometimes we run into that cliche of an example when someone says, what do you think about my hair? And the hair is in disarray. How do we not lie? We can go deeper. We can say, I love you, I accept you, you are absolutely beautiful. We are looking for deeper truths that are at work, knowing that each layer that we uncover brings us into a truer listening and relationship with one another. The fifth and final basic precept is, I vow to abstain from intoxicants that can induce heedlessness. I'm mindful of the news media itself. I'm mindful of what's entering into my ear. I'm mindful of all those times that you and I are in line at the cash register, and there are lots and lots of magazines. I'm mindful of gossip. I'm mindful of false information. I'm mindful of ideology and false teachings that intoxicate, and they compromise our ability to listen intimately, carefully, compassionately. Friends, fundamental to all spiritual practice is our capacity, our summons to listen our way into relationships, to listen our way into right speech, right action, right livelihood, to listen our way into beloved community. And so, friends, we continue in our spiritual practice.